Okay, so I got this HR17 Nano here. The engine start problems, it doesn't start. If I go to start, nothing happens except the electric motor spins very slowly. So when I'm going to start, electric motor spins very slowly, and in a cage on the display is showing engine is running. See, so I'm not sure you can see that, but it's showing engine running and the oil light. Okay, let's try that. So let's restart the machine now. And now I'm gonna do it from the cage controls. So the machine is to the cage controls. Okay, so if I look at display right now, the battery is showing 99%. If I want to use the machine on electric power, yeah, I can. It's working fine, no problems. If I'm going to start a diesel engine, I'm gonna go to start. I hold it and it's nothing happening. Engine is not cranking, but here it's registering that engine is running. So the system thinks that engine is running, but it has no oil pressure. That's the symbol on the screen showing. So that's an interesting fault, I would say. I've never came across like this before. Alright, so let's measure the voltage here now. So I have my meter voltage mode. And, I'm gonna try. Hopefully you can read this out. See, maybe a bit better here. Just about. Alright, so we're gonna check on the voltage on a 12-volt battery, positive. That's giving me 12.61. Okay, and let's have a look on the supplied thermal trim here, the diesel box, and that's only 11.35. Okay, and that's supplied to your engine control card, 11.34. So that is very low. I'm wondering what's going to happen with this voltage when I'm going to hit the start button. Okay, let's try that. If I go below, I'm gonna go below first. Just put some load on it. Alright, there we go. That's the problem. So that dropped out right to 0. Look. And if I go to start the engine, 0. Alright, that's good. I think that's where the problem is then. So the interesting fact is that the voltage here is lower than the voltage on the battery. So the battery we're getting 12.6. So we do have the problem with the power supply to that board on the positive side. There's nothing gonna be with the ground, because if the problem would be with the ground wire or bad earth or something, so I would have the voltage reading the same on supply and the battery. But now on the battery I'm reading the higher voltage on the positive than on this board. So let's see, where is this coming from? So 12-volt feed, and that comes through bridge rectifier. So that's where it's coming. This wire here, this wire right here is feeding the circuit board, and that wire goes into right here. I'm gonna move this. You see it's moving there. So this is the wire. Okay, so if I measure the voltage, and that's a bit interesting here. So look, if I measure the voltage here, this is the feed. Okay, I hope you can see that. Let me get, yeah, 11.35, and that's coming from here, I would say 11.35. So why we don't have the full voltage there? .3 again, same. So and the battery 12.6. Alright, let's follow the battery cable. It goes in here, into fuse holder. Okay, on the fuse holder 12.6 and 12 output. Oh, there's a problem with my ground. Yeah, 12.6 in here. Look, so on the fuse holder, this is the inlet. Okay, let me scrape the surface a bit off so I have better connection. So 12.6, exactly same as the battery. I'm not sure if you can see this meter here. Hopefully you can. So on the fuse holder 12.6, yeah, and that's where my fuse holder is, yeah. So this is the main feed coming from the battery. From positive of the battery goes into this fuse, and I have 12.6 an output here. Let's scrape the surface off a bit. 11.8, you see, 11.8. So why we have 11.8? And same here. So this cable is feeding the starter motor, and from the starter motor goes into alternator, but the voltage drop is so high, 11.8, and here 12.6. So we're nearly dropping 1 volt just across this. So with any load applied, the voltage drop is just going to increase. We have 11.9 now on the fuse holder output. Okay, this is the output from the fuse holder, from the fuse into start side. So let me try to put some load on it. So I will go with the glow again as previously. So go into glow and see what's gonna happen. Look, 0. Alright, so I think the problem is possibly that fuse actually gone, or it has really bad connection there. So I removed the fuse, and the fuse seems to be okay, so it didn't trip or anything, but you can see the condition of the fuse. It's just crazy. I mean, it's been, look, working on the edges here. It was arcing out on the fuse holder, and by doing so he lost, eventually he just gave up, lost the connection at all. It's so bad. Both sides, you can see it was working on the, it was arcing out around the edges. It's crazy. So it was a bad connection on the flat surface and started to arc into the bolt. And if you look on the bolt, look, you see the marks all over the place. So I think we're gonna have to go with the new fuse holder here as well to prevent this happening again. But for the test purpose, I'm just gonna fit a new fuse on it just to make sure is everything okay here, and we go from there. So the new fuse fitted on. I just fit it on the healthier side of the fuse holder. It still needs to be replaced, but just for the test purpose, I just fit it that way. Just a voltage measurement for now. Okay, 12.59, and on the output 12.59 as well. Okay, so that looks good. So what I will try to do, just gonna check on the feed, 12.6, 12.59, that's good. So feed is good, so I'll try to see if I can start the engine now. And hopefully that's a fix. So I'm going to glow. So 1, 2, 3, go start. Alright, that's good. Let's try again. Preheat. It's just a cold day today. Let's try again. Okay, so it's turning over, that's good. So it's something else is causing the troubles here. It starts and shuts down immediately. Maybe that board has gone as well, because it was working on so low voltages. gonna have a look on the fuse by the step down unit just to make sure it's everything okay there. So just gonna have a look on this fuse, because sometimes if that fuse goes, then we're gonna start having different problems. The fuse seems to be okay here, and that's looking good. So what I will try to do, we'll try to disconnect the throttle solenoid and see if I can get this going that way. Okay, so let's try again to start it up. Starts and stops. So it's not going to continue running. Alright, that's interesting, but I think that's most likely related to faulty diesel board. Not sure if I have one with me to try, but it keeps getting on. So let me just disconnect the solenoid right here. Stop solenoid. So okay, it's running fine, no problems with the engine side. So it's all with the controls. Okay, so it starts up, and if I disconnect this solenoid, it's gonna start. Okay, same, starts up and shuts down. Alright. So where the problem is, I think maybe the problem is with that board over there. I see some sort of discoloration on the MOSFET. So maybe the low voltage on the supply side caused the damage to that board as well, because it was running for the very low voltage for quite a bit of time. So I'll try to see if I have a new one to try. I will give a go just to make sure everything's okay here. Okay, so I don't have a new board, but I'm still suspecting this is the faulty board, and I'm gonna test that board just by measuring resistance. Okay, and I want to show you how you can test it if you need to, if you're not sure. And you need to isolate the battery, 12-volt battery. Yeah, you disconnect all the plugs from that board, remove them. Okay, so no plugs. You can leave those wires in, they're fine, they can stay. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have my multimeter in resistance mode, and I'm gonna measure resistance between pin here, and on that pin it says TPWM2. Okay, so between this pin and the pin on this side, and it says IG alternator. All right, so I'm gonna measure resistance between those two pins, and now I have 0.2 ohms. Okay, it's short circuit, so you should read about 1000 ohms. Okay, so if you have 1000 ohms, then it's good, but 0.2 ohms, that means that the MOSFET has shorted out on that board. So there's something happened with the board, and I can see there's a lot of discoloration on that transistor here. So I think the bad power supply through the fuse and low voltage being here caused a lot of current go through it and generate a lot of heat. And I will test the machine without throttle controls. So I'm gonna connect the board back up, but I leave this wire disconnected. And this plug is a TPWM, which comes from the motor controller. Okay, and that is controlling the MOSFET, but because it's shorted out, is giving the bad signal to the motor controller. So let me try to start the engine to see if it's running, and if it's going to be running without this plug. So only thing is left to do on this machine is just to change the board, but the main cause of the fault was here on this fuse holder. Okay, so let's try. Forgot to connect my battery terminal. Alright, so let's try again. So blow, preheat, problems. And I'm running without the solenoid here and without the control wire. Okay, let's try with the solenoid, but I think that's gonna go in a higher revs possibly now because it's short out. Yeah, so because we measure resistance, we had a nearly 0 ohms, and that means short circuit. So I think we're gonna have a feed in the high revs now. So let's try. Okay, you see what I mean? So that control side is shorted out and is causing the problems. It's going to high revs, but if I disconnect the solenoid, it's just gonna run fine. Okay, so I say that's fixed. Fuse holder, bad connection, corrosion on a fuse holder, and the fuse itself caused the problems to the power supply, and now we have that board damaged as well, so needs a new board and it's going to be good to go.